Okay, so basically what we were looking at last class was to determine how many people. Oh, okay. All right, Eric. So how many people a firm is willing to hire in order to maximize the profits or minimize the losses? Whether they make a profit or a loss, we don't know. But if we hire to the point where marginal revenue product equals marginal factor cost, if they're making a profit, they're going to make the maximum profit. If they're making a loss, they're going to make the least amount of loss. So by hiring Q star workers, you're going to be able to produce that Q star number of units that we talked about when we talked about the product market, when we talked about how many units should a firm produce, and we said Q star. Well, Q star was found where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, but as far as the units were concerned, now we're looking at marginal revenue product equals marginal factor cost, how much a worker contributes to the revenue and how much a worker contributes to the cost. And at the point where the contribution to the revenue is the same as the contribution to the cost, that's how many people you want to hire in order to be able to produce that Q star. So here we have in the labor market, quantity of labor, marginal factor cost stays constant. The price of labor is determined in the market, and the firm can hire as many or as few people as they want at that wage, which is determined in the market. So at this equilibrium wage, this is marginal factor cost. In other words, each worker will contribute $60,000. Another worker, another 60. Another worker, another 60,000. You can hire as many or as few people as you want at $60,000. Now, how many workers you're going to hire? Well, as long as they contribute more to you than you're contributing to them, you're going to hire them up to the point where the contribution of their contribution to you is exactly the same as your contribution to them. In other words, up to this point here. And then you're not going to hire any additional workers because, as you can see, if you go past this number of workers here, their contribution to revenue is going to be less than their contribution to the cost. So it makes no sense to hire somebody that's going to cost you $60,000, but they will only contribute $50,000 to you. Okay, so all these people here, they're contributing more to the revenue than to the cost. All these people past the Q star were contributed more to the cost than to the revenue. So it makes absolutely no sense to hire them. Okay, so we found Q star, marginal revenue product equals marginal factor cost. Now, I want to take a look at, well, what is this marginal factor cost for the firm? Well, the marginal factor cost is at this price, at $60,000, how many workers you're willing to hire. What is the quantity supplied of workers? So at each and every price, and this is only one price, at 60,000, the price doesn't change. You are willing to hire 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever number of workers. So this represents the supply curve. Marginal factor cost represents the supply curve for the firm. Okay, the supply of labor. Here is marginal revenue product. Marginal revenue product is what is the quantity demanded at each and every price. Well, here the price is the wage. So what is the quantity demanded at this wage, at that wage, and so on? Well, we know what the quantity demanded is at this wage here. At this wage, quantity demanded is this quantity. But if we change the wage, let's say here, this is the new wage, then quantity demanded would be here. And if the wage goes down, then quantity demanded would be higher. It makes sense. If the wage goes down, firms are willing to, the quantity demanded for labor goes up. If the wage goes up, quantity demanded for labor goes down. So it shows at each and every price what the quantity demanded for labor is. So this marginal revenue product also is our demand for labor, is the firm's demand for labor. All right. Well, folks, we know how we got marginal factor cost. Marginal factor cost is the wage which is determined in the industry, in the market, by supply and demand. The firm has no control. So the firm has to take that wage, and they can hire as many or as few people as they want at that particular wage. Okay. Now, how did we get marginal revenue product? Remember how we got marginal revenue product? Oh, we said something like this. The first worker that we hire contributed 10 audits. But that was not in terms of revenue, because that was not in terms of dollar, was 10 audits. And in order for us to find how much is 10 audits in dollars, we needed the price of an audit. And we said last class, well, let's suppose the price of an audit is $10,000. Then that means that in terms of revenue, the first worker contributed $100,000. It's 10 audits times $10,000 an audit, $100,000. So $100,000 was here, $60,000 was here. Well, that worker is certainly profitable for us, so we're going to hire that worker. And then we said, well, okay, 2 workers are contributing 18 audits. So if one contributes 10 and 2 contributes 8, 2 are contributing 18, that means that the second one added another 8 audits. So that's in terms of audits, but in terms of revenue, we have to multiply by the price. So $10,000 times 8 audits equals $80,000, and so on. So how did we get marginal revenue product? We multiplied the price of the audit, the price of the product, times how many units each worker is able to contribute. The first one, 10. The second one, 8. The third one, 6, and so on. So that's how we get marginal revenue product. So let me write down what is marginal factor cost, what is marginal revenue product, and how we derive marginal revenue product. So a little bit of just basic info. MFC equals marginal factor cost. So is the contribution of each worker to the cost in dollars, obviously, because that's how much they contribute to the firm. They contribute their wage in terms of dollars, 60,000, 60,000, 60,000. Marginal revenue product is, so marginal revenue product is the contribution of each worker to the revenue. Obviously in dollars. They contribute 100,000, 80,000, 60,000, and so on. But how did we get this marginal revenue product? Well, we got it by multiplying the number of audits that each worker contributed times the price of an audit. So marginal revenue product is equal to the contribution of each worker in terms of audits, how many units they produce, how many audits are they doing. And in our case, we're going to call that marginal physical product. In other words, in terms of physical units, how much they are contributing. Not in dollars, but in physical units. If they were making pianos, how many pianos each worker contributes. in this case, how many audits they are able to contribute. So it's MPP times the price of the product that you're producing, the price of the audit that you're producing, the price of the piano that you are producing. So MPP stands for marginal physical product. How much each worker, how much each worker contributes in terms of units. In terms of goods, not dollars, but goods. And then when I multiply the number of goods, the units that they are producing, times the price of each unit, then we're gonna get dollars. So if we are making pizza, you say, well, the first worker puts up 10 pizzas. How much is in dollars? Well, I don't know because I need the price. If you know the price, if you know that the price of a pizza is $8 a pizza, then 10 pizzas times $8 is $80. That's the marginal revenue product. That's how much they contribute in terms of revenue. And obviously, what you need to compare is how much they contribute in terms of revenue in dollars, how much they contribute in terms of cost in dollars. And then you see, well, do they contribute more in revenue than to the cost? Well, then I'm going to hire them. If they contribute more to the cost than in terms of revenue, then I'm not going to hire them. Okay. Now, remember that this MRP is the demand for labor for the firm. Right? The MRP, we said, represents the demand for labor for the firm. Okay. So now let's think a little bit in logical terms. Let's think about it in logical terms. Folks, so the demand for labor is equal to marginal physical product times the price. That's where the demand comes from, is equal to how much each worker contributes in terms of goods times the price of the product that you're producing and selling. So my question to you is, for the demand to go up, for this demand, for this guy, for the demand to go up, what might cause the demand to go up? Anybody? Remember, the demand comes from MPP times P. So if this goes up, what might cause that to go up?
Need for more audits? No. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what.
MPP go down. MPP go down.
Well,
so
let's
they
see.
can hire more.
Wait. Here you just think, let me erase a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, you guys are going in the right direction, but you're going a little bit around it. And Kathy, you are going a little bit around it. And and Kimiko, you have to, let's think about it this. You see this formula here?
Yes.
Okay. If I tell you that A went up, what might cause A to go up in that formula?
A change on the other side.
Going up.
So,
on the other side.
so it's either B went up or C went up. Agreed?
Sure.
Okay. So now let's revisit the formula upstairs. The demand is equal to MPP times P. And if I say that the demand for labor went up, that must have been caused by either
NDP or P went up.
exactly either MPP, either this went up or this went up, or both of them went up at the same time. Or this went down and this went up, but this went up more than this went down. But let's keep it simple. So it's this, if this goes up, either price went up or marginal physical product went up. Let's think about it logically. Initially, the price of an audit was how much? Do you remember what was the price of an audit?
$100? I don't remember.
No, it wasn't $100.
No, 10,000? I don't remember.
All right, $10,000.
All right.
You guys are changing numbers on me.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right, so let's think about it. Here's marginal physical product, which is the same as the wage. Here's marginal revenue product, which is the same as the demand. And initially, the price of an audit was $10,000. And given that was $10,000, we're going to hire to the point where marginal revenue product is the same as marginal factor cost. So the quantity of labor that we're going to hire is this quantity there. Okay. Now, something changes. In this case, the price of an audit changes. And let me tell you, let's say that it goes from $10,000 to $20,000. What I want to ask you logically, think about it just logically. Don't try to figure out mathematically. Just think about it logically. If you had a business where your employees are doing audits, and initially you were able to sell your audits for $10,000, you were able to charge $10,000 per audit. But now, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but the price of an audit, you are able to sell them for $20,000. My question to you is this. Do you think that you will want to expand the business or contract the business? In other words, hire more workers or hire fewer workers?
Increase, expand.
Increase, absolutely. $20,000, it's a lot better now, right?
Yes.
So you would expect that this business will want to hire additional workers. Well, let's see what's going to happen. Here is what's going to happen. That first worker was doing 10 audits, and at $10,000 an audit, that was $100,000, right?
Correct.
Okay, now it's the same 10 audits, but it's $20,000 an audit. So the contribution in revenue is no longer going to be $100,000, but it's going to be $200,000, right?
Yes.
So let's put that up. $200,000 is above $100,000. And the second worker was contributing $80,000 because it was 8 audits times 10,000. Now it's 8 audits times 20,000. So it's 160,000. So the second worker, the contribution to the revenue is no longer 80, but it's 160, and so on. So each worker is going to contribute more than before to the revenue because the price of an audit is higher than before. The MPP stays the same, but this guy is twice as much. So each one is going to contribute twice as much they were contributing before. So we have a brand new marginal revenue product, which looks like this. The profit maximizing firm will hire how many workers? They're going to hire workers to the point where the contribution to the revenue of the last worker is exactly to the contribution to the cost of the last worker, right?
Yes.
Okay, what happened to the wage? Wages did not change. The only thing that changed was the price of the audit. That's all, right?
Yes.
So the wage is the same. So at this wage, before the price of the audit went up, firm was willing to hire Q star workers. How many workers is the firm willing to hire now?
More.
More. They're going to hire to the point where marginal factor cost is equal to marginal revenue product, but this is a brand new marginal revenue product. So we're going to hire to where the contribution of the last worker is exactly equal to the contribution to the cost of the last worker, which is marginal factor cost. Okay. So if the wage is here before the firm was hiring this many workers, now the firm is hiring that many workers. What if the wage was here? Well, before they were hiring this many workers, now they're hiring this many workers. What if the wage is here? Before they were hiring this many workers, now they're hiring this many workers. So what has happened to the demand curve? What has happened to the demand for labor? It has
Shifted to the right.
exactly, which represents an increase in the demand for labor. Because remember, an increase in the demand, you shifted to the right, a decrease in the demand, you shifted to the left. So that's what's happening. And it's logical. It's logical that if the price of the product increases, then the demand for the labor that which produces that product will also go up. So if the price of pianos goes up, we would expect that firms in the piano industry to go out and hire more labor, regardless of the price. So whatever the wage, they'll hire more workers after the price of pianos went up. Whatever the wage of accountants, the firms will want to hire more accountants because the price of an audit has gone up. Does it make sense that if you work in an industry and the product that is being produced in that industry for whatever reason is going up, then the firms in that industry will seek to hire additional workers?
Yes.
Yeah, regardless of what the wage of those workers is. At this wage, before and after. So at this wage, before the price went up, before the price of the audit went up, after the price of an audit went up. At this price, before and after. This price, before and after. Okay, very good. So now we see the impact of a change in the price. Is going to change the demand for the labor. And it makes sense. If the price of the product goes up, then the demand for labor goes up. If the price would go down, then the demand for labor would go down. If the price of an audit goes to $5,000, then the firms will not want to expand, but they will contract. Okay, so let's leave the price alone. What else could cause this demand to go up? If MPP goes up, agreed?
Marginal physical product.
Right. Well, if you have demand is equal to price times MPP, we know that if the demand goes up, either price went up or MPP went up. Remember when I told you A equal B times C? Well, if A goes up, either B went up or C went up. Agree with me?
Yes.
So in this case, if this went up, it could be that went up because this went up.
Oops.
Here. MPP is B, P is C, and this is A. Demand is A. If this goes up, could it be that it went up because this went up?
Are we talking about
No, I'm talking about
Worker-
mathematically. Just think about it. If A equals B times C,
yeah.
if C goes up, wouldn't A go up?
Yes.
Okay, so if MPP goes up, then the demand would go up.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just think about it. A equal B times C.
Yes,
If
demand
this
to go
variable
up.
goes up, wouldn't this also go up?
Yeah. If the
So
B
let's
times
think about
C
it then.
equal A,
Right. So if MPP goes up, then the demand goes up. So folks, let me ask you then, let's think a little bit more logically. What is MPP? I know that it's marginal physical product, but how can we think about it in more logical terms? Well, it was how much the first worker contributed, how much the second worker contributed in terms of units, in terms of
unit size
audits.
of work.
So yeah, so if NPP goes up, how can we say it in English?
Productivity is increased.
Productivity has increased, exactly. The first worker not now, instead of producing 10, they're producing 20. Second worker, instead of producing 8, they're producing 16. That would be an increase in productivity. So marginal physical product represents how much each worker contributes. And if each worker contributes is able to contribute more and more and more, that means that their productivity has increased. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay. Does it make sense that if you have a firm and your workers are able to produce more and more and more, what would you want to do? Would you want to expand or contract or stay the same?
Stay the same or perhaps contract?
If you are becoming more and more productive.
Oh, you want to expand, you want to maximize your profits, so you'd hire more?
So you hire more, exactly. You want to expand. And if you want to expand, the only way you can expand is by you hiring
more workers.
Exactly. So the demand for labor goes
up.
Well, let's see how that looks.
Okay.
Makes sense now logically. So let's see how that looks graphically. Well, the graph, guess what? Is going to look exactly like this graph here.
Okay.
But instead of this number, instead of MRP going up from $100,000 to $200,000, the price stayed the same, but the productivity went from 10 audits to 20 audits. So you have now 20 audits times $10,000 equals $200,000. Instead of 8 audits, 16 audits. 16 audits times $10,000 equals 160. So you see, it's exactly the same thing. Each worker is able to contribute more to the revenue than before. So the marginal revenue product shifts like this, shifts up. So what the firm is going to do is they will want to hire additional workers to the point where MRP, the new MRP prime is equal to MFC. So before the productivity increases, at this wage, they were hiring this many workers. Now at this wage, they're willing to hire this many workers. What if the wage was here? Before they were willing to hire this many, now they're willing to hire this many. So at each and every wage level, the firm is willing to hire more workers than before. So it should make sense. Well, you know, productivity increases, the firm wants to expand. And you hire. So, and the only way they can expand is by hiring additional workers. In other words, the demand for labor goes up. So you see that if MPP goes up, the demand goes up. If price goes up, the demand goes up. Okay, one last point, and we're gonna be done. What are we gonna do? Just an FYI. Monday, and I'm gonna work out a whole bunch of problems on the board for you that will further illustrate this situation, how firms are making the decisions given a change in productivity or a change in price, how many workers they're willing to hire, and if the wage changes, what changes, and so on. So I think that once I work out those problems, you're gonna get a good grasp of those ideas here, which at least for now are just theoretical. But once we put some numbers with them, you're gonna realize, okay, that it makes sense. Now, let me ask you this. Let's suppose that we have an increase in productivity. Productivity goes up. And productivity increases, and let's say that this was the initial wage of workers, okay? And with the old productivity, with the old marginal revenue curve, which was here, the firm was willing to hire this many workers, Q star. And then productivity increases, MPP increases, and we have a brand new marginal revenue product. And with this brand new marginal revenue product, firm is gonna hire to the point where the new value for the marginal revenue product is the same as the value for marginal factor cost. And this Q star prime is the new quantity of labor that the firm is willing to hire. Then the question for you is, look, if you were a worker and you increased your productivity, and as a result, the only thing that happens is the firm is hiring more people. Are you gonna be happy or unhappy?
Unhappy.
Unhappy, because you say, what the heck is going on here? I am more productive, and I'm not seeing any benefits out of that. All the benefits are going to the firm, which is expanding.
I've
Guess
heard
what?
that argument before.
You know what? Those guys over here who increase the productivity, who's seeing their productivity going up, they're not seeing any benefits. What would they like to see? They would not like to see any more hiring of workers. They would like to see a freeze in the employment. Okay, so no more than Q star. But if this is the new marginal revenue product, and if the firm would maintain the same number of workers, Q star, how much should the firm be willing to pay the maximum wage? What would the maximum wage be? The maximum wage would
vertical.
would be where marginal revenue product with the new marginal revenue product would be equal to the new marginal factor cost. In other words, that would be the new wage that those workers would like to see. So they wouldn't want to see an expansion of the business, but they want to see all the benefits of that increase in productivity in terms of higher
wages.
Wages, exactly. Because folks, after all, the firm is willing to pay to the point where marginal revenue product is equal to marginal factor cost. And if we maintain this number of workers, the contribution of the last worker in terms of revenue is right here. And therefore, the firm should be willing to pay that wage for all the workers. The firm doesn't want to do that.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. They want the same old wages, but they want to translate the increase in productivity in hiring additional worker, expanding. So they want to be here with the same old wages, but higher number of workers. The workers want the same old workers, but higher wages. So the benefits of increases in productivity can go all the way to the firm, no increases in wages, but expansion in production. or it can go to only labor and the firm doesn't get any benefits and the wages are going up and employment stays the same. Or in most cases, for most firms, when there are increases in productivity, what are we going to have? We're going to have some sort of a
Compromise.
Compromise.
exactly, some sort of a compromise where basically we're going to have wages going up some and employment also going up. So the business expanding and wages going up. But not all of the benefits will go to one party or to the other. It's going to be shared between the two of them. Does it make sense, folks?
Yes.
Okay. So you cannot have everything. You know, the firm wants everything. The labor wants everything. And then there's going to be some sort of a negotiation to make everybody happy, and some get a piece of that benefit and the others also get a piece of the benefit. You know, at that point it depends on who's got more power, whether the labor or the management has more power. Okay, so like I said, what I'm going to do is next class I'm going to come here and do a whole bunch of problems. Not that you will have to do those problems on a test, but I think that if we do those problems, it will make all this theoretical thing be a little bit more practical to us. All right, so let me stop this here.